We have a cluster cuss of a situation to tell you about. Oh, baby. This guy is 2 months old, which, if you've been following along since the birth video, means a lot has happened. So, mind if I tell the backstory?
Yeah, can I eat a snack?
Yes, eat your snack.
All right.
Okay, so 2 months ago we had a baby, this one. He's wonderful, Mateo.
We love him.
We love him very much. And about the same time, right after he was born, he had some skin issues right away. He started getting a heat rash and we were dealing with that. And then Myron, our 3-year-old, wasn't acting himself. He was acting pretty fussy and I thought, well, he's 3. And then he started acting like fussier than normal. I thought, well, we just had a newborn baby. He probably just misses the fact that he was not the baby anymore. Then he started like drinking like an enormous amount of water, just like rushing to like grab cups and just guzzle water like it was life dependent upon it. I thought that's weird, but it was kind of hot in Puerto Rico, so that's what I thought it was. And he started eating snacks like crazy, just like we had a rule in our house that like most snacks were restricted, but like fruit and vegetables like unlimited. And then he ate like 6 mandarin oranges in an hour. And we thought, okay, that's a lot of oranges. And so all this stuff was happening and like, not at the same time, the way I'm telling it, but it was more like over time, we started noticing these things. And also that he was getting skinnier and we thought, well, growth spurt. He's probably on a growth spurt. All those things were explainable. But Rachel had the mother's instinct that something was not okay. And then she sent me a list of symptoms of type 1 diabetes and said, I think he might have type 1 diabetes. I should mention he was like peeing a lot too. And so she said, I think it might be type 1 diabetes. He's got an appointment with a pediatrician next week. Let's talk to the pediatrician then. And the beauty of our partnership is that Rachel was the one to go like, I think this might be type 1 diabetes. Like, it's not okay. And I was the one to go, if you're right, we need to find out right now. He just
pooped.
He just filled the diaper. I felt it. So I took Myron. So she kept the rest of the kids, the other 3 kids, and I took Myron to the ER.
Well, we called the pediatrician, and she said go to Walgreens, get a glucometer, and we did, and we kept getting the error messages because his glucose was off the charts, and so we immediately went to the ER. 2 weeks postpartum.
Yeah, so she's home with this one. I took Myron, got the labs done at the hospital, and they said, basically at first they were like, oh yeah, just go home, we'll call you in the morning. I was like, I think I should wait. And they were like, well, it might take an hour. And so I waited in the lobby. And then after an hour, they were like, just go straight to the ER when they got the labs done. And so they gave me the labs, ran to the ER. I've never seen a nurse move so fast as soon as she saw the labs to get us hooked up to IVs and ER doctor rushing in. Just like everybody just rallied. And I've never seen people move so fast, especially Puerto Ricans. And right away, the ER doctor was like, he has type 1 diabetes. We're trying to make sure that he's not, basically he's dealing with ketoacidosis, which is like very serious. And so it's a very scary night because Myron's looking at me like, what's going on? Well, everyone's just like filling him, like they covered him in IVs and like needles and just took blood samples and urine samples and they did like an x-ray in his bed and just like all this stuff. And then he came back and he said, hey, you need to transfer to PICU, like pediatric intensive care unit.
Yeah, at a different hospital.
I should say it's all in Spanish, so I'm translating for you. In this middle of the night, I followed an ambulance with my 3-year-old in it to another hospital.
Which thankfully he slept through on the ambulance. The kids and I were home.
But turns out he has type 1 diabetes. It took about a week of hospital stay to just get him stable and doing well and have some sort of insulin regime so that we were allowed to leave. It was very ugly, the whole experience. Like, it was a lot of things about Puerto Rico we loved. The hospital was not one of them. Aaron, you get to go for a walk. You ready?
Yeah.
It's the first time you've gone for a walk in the hospital.
Yeah.
Whoa, buddy, what's wrong?
I just want my mom.
You want your mom? I know, buddy. I want her too. Let's go for a walk, okay?
Who's on your diapers?
Oh boy, who's on your new diaper, Myron?
I know that sounds. Mickey.
It's Mickey.
Mickey Mouse.
Oh boy, Mickey and Minnie are just making sure you're okay. I don't know, even like once we started getting care here in Tennessee, we'll get to that. Then our doctor was saying that like all the stuff they were prescribing in Puerto Rico was like in types of insulin that nobody's used in like 10 years, you know, and stuff like that. So
So we're grateful that
Yeah.
the hospitals we're grateful that the hospital that Myron was at kept him alive and got us back home and got us stable, but everything was antiquated. The nurses cared and were overworked. It was like we 3 nurses and 17 kids. The doctor only worked 8 hours a day, something like that, in the pediatric intensive care.
Yeah,
It's just understaffed, and we weren't able to get the quality of care that we needed. And so even when he was discharged, we realized we couldn't stay there and serve Myron well as parents.
Oh, girl.
Oh dear.
So how many days were you with Myron in the hospital?
It was 6 days. I mean, I just call it a week. But a couple days into that, well, okay. First of all, the first day I was there, when you came to visit, you all went to Denny's, and then while they were eating at Denny's.
So they went out on a
Yeah.
Wednesday night. Thursday morning, I came to bring stuff at the hospital, which because of COVID protocols, we weren't allowed to see each other. I couldn't come see Myron. He couldn't step out. The baby wasn't allowed.
Yeah.
And for overnight stay, they required that only women could stay overnight with their children.
Which-
So he had to get special exemption because we said, do you want the mom like postpartum with the infant, or do you want the dad to sleep on the church bench in the room with the child?
Basically, they were like, well, you can't stay the night. I said, well, so and they already said that our kids couldn't visit because it was an intensive care unit. And so I was like, okay, so my wife, who just had a baby 2 weeks ago, can't leave for a newborn. We don't have any other family in Puerto Rico. You're just gonna have to like figure something out. Like you just like, and so they eventually talked to a supervisor and got it worked out. But
that was one of the moments where I realized we don't have family around, and
Yeah.
this is not sustainable. Like I still need support postpartum with a newborn and our other 2 children, and you're in the hospital and can't leave our son's side.
yeah.
But that Thursday morning, I came to bring you those things. I took the kids to Denny's. He's hungry. I'm hungry. The big kids are hungry. We all sit down. I get the kids plated. I go to use the bathroom, and I come back into the lobby carrying the baby in the car seat bucket, and there's security guards, and they say, "Is this your van?" And they show me a picture of my license plate, and I said, "Yes, it is."
And they zoom out.
And they zoom out, and the entire back end of my van has been smashed. I had backed into the parking spot, and someone had jumped the curb on their side and had hit over the handicap spot, which was on the other side where they were. And I think they confused the gas and the brake, and they just smashed into the back of my van. So my van is undrivable.
So it was parked, but just, essentially total.
So I was able to drive home, but I had just come from the hospital.
I'm still in the hospital with Myron, so I'm getting texts of like, hey, car got hit, getting pictures, going like, what is going on? Like, thankfully you guys were not in the car, but I didn't know that at first. So I was like,
I tried to communicate clearly, but I was really shook
you
up.
got a lot going on. So I'm like, it was intense.
It was really a key note of my emotional state that when they said, "Is this your car?" They said, "You don't worry about it. There's going to be a police report. The police are coming. Your insurance will cover it. It's totally not your fault. It's been a really big deal. All these things, don't worry. Tranquila, está bien." And I just said, I don't speak Spanish.
Which she does. She does
And
speak Spanish.
I said, I can't speak Spanish right now because my whole body just went into shock.
Yeah.
And I sat on the bench and just started crying. And I handed the security guard my phone, and I was like, "Please call this person. Like, I have no family."
Called the priest.
Called the priest's wife who called her husband, and he came over and sat down with the police and like was breastfeeding the baby and trying to eat a sandwich and answer the police's questions and all these things.
Wait, he was breastfeeding the baby?
No, I was feeding the baby.
Oh, okay. He's trying to eat his sandwich?
No, I was eating my sandwich.
Okay.
I was overwhelmed,
Yeah.
and he thankfully sat next to me and helped with the police report, and we got it sorted.
And then, Mateo at this point, he already had a heat rash, I mentioned, but it was getting worse. Some of it started turning yellow, and then he wasn't gaining weight. I think of a heat rash like your body's trying to sweat, but it can't. And so he hadn't developed sweat pores, and so it's like micro blisters all over his body, head to toe. And then that got worse, and then it got infected, and then it turned into meningitis. And so he ended up hospitalized. While I'm in one hospital,
I'm in another hospital in
Yeah.
the same city. He's in the valley, and I'm on top of the mountain.
because that hospital has a NICU and this one has a PICU.
Yep.
And, yeah.
So he just felt too hot to me, and we called the pediatrician, and she sent me to the ER. What so far started out as heat rash is now an infection. So we're hooked up to a baby IV and monitoring to find out what's next. Testing, all those things. It is, I don't even know what day it is. I think it's Tuesday. It's Tuesday. And on Thursday morning, we found out that Myron, my 3-year-old, has diabetes. So my husband's in the hospital with him, and then my 3-week-old is now in a different hospital with an infection. And on Thursday afternoon, my car was hit and the back windshield was smashed in. There was an older gentleman, and I think he just confused the gas and the brake. So we're in the middle of the insurance claim for that now, and hopeful. And so we don't have that car. We're not allowed to drive it because it has to be inspected by the insurance before we can drive or get a replacement. And then another car, the battery died when I was on the way to the hospital here today for this one. In the last 4 weeks, 5 weeks, I've been in 3 hospitals and 1 medical center. I have been in countless waiting rooms. And we're just gonna take the advice of Princess Anna and just do the next right thing. I'm hungry. We're in a Moby. So we've got IV friendly baby wearing. He's so happy. You're so happy right now. Yeah. He's so happy. Thankfully, at that point, your mom had come to help and support us. So she stayed with the older children.
I don't know what we've done otherwise.
Well, you and I were each in 2 different hospitals and 2 different intensive care units with our children.
And
for 6 days each, overlapping.
Yes, and the other 2 kids were not allowed to visit either
Kids couldn't come to
unit. So my mom came to help for a bit, but then we said the best thing she could do to help was actually just take our other 2 kids, our older 2, back to Tennessee. Yeah. And so they did that after about a week. And then, so me and Myron got out of the hospital first a couple days before you.
Yep.
And then on Mother's Day, we went and picked you and Mateo up. Hello.
Hi.
Happy Mother's Day.
Mom, we got your present.
I love it. It's beautiful.
My
balloon. I love it.
Where's his present?
Oh, the present's at home.
What?
Don't drop this part.
Okay, I had a baby tail.
Baby tail.
Hey, that's Yoda.
Yeah, it is.
It's Baby Yoda.
Yeah, we just went home.
Yeah?
Yeah, and I just missed you.
Oh, love you so much. Love you.
And so then we had 2 of our kids out of the hospital, 2 kids back in Tennessee. We went back to our house and we said, okay, let's just let's take a couple weeks to just like get everything sorted. And then I think we need to go back to Tennessee for a while and just like get better medical care and figure things out because they both had ongoing medical needs. And then within 24 hours,
his heat rash comes back.
Head to toe, his whole body. And so we booked a midnight flight. We threw a bunch of stuff in bags. My brother actually had just arrived from Denver to come help us out. And then we said, hey, we're leaving. And so we gave him the house and a list of things to do to help close the house up. Threw some stuff in bags, took a midnight flight, and came back to Tennessee. Myron, you excited to fly on a plane? Rachel, what about you? You excited?
I'm excited to get off the plane.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, no. They come you already.
Oh, sorry, not Myron. Puppy. Puppy, are you excited and ready to get in the plane?
Yeah!
Let's go. That's the entrance everybody else is taking to the plane. But we were told, go in the VIP in the back, right? Ooh. Just because we're in the back of the plane. You're the only 10 I see. And that was a
So
3
our
or 4 weeks
car
ago.
is still unsorted. We've had a lot of trouble with our insurance claim and them accepting our paperwork and all of these things.
We'll get that sorted eventually.
And we'll get it sorted eventually. But we have a house and a life in Puerto Rico, and our stuff is there.
And he can't go back to Puerto Rico.
And he can't go back.
Which means we can't go back to Puerto Rico right now. So when he's older, heat rash isn't like a permanent thing. Like his body should develop more and he should be able to tolerate the heat. We had all grown acclimated to the heat in Puerto Rico, but we're not maybe like genetically predispositioned to it. Something about that, Anglo-Saxon skin.
Yeah, but even now you can see like his skin is red. We've been in the sun and we've been out today, and he just doesn't handle the heat well, and so we have to.
We're kind of hoping he's secretly a ginger. Yeah.
Yes. He's got a freckle already. Yeah.
So we're in Tennessee right now.
So we're in Tennessee. Myron is getting great endocrinology care. We're really happy with our endocrinologist here. We are learning how to manage it. It's still hard. We're still on the whole parenting of like, our child has an autoimmune disorder. Is that our fault? Is that his fault? How do we support him? Is he having a meltdown because his glucose is high, or is he just
fault.
3? Like, it's nobody's fault, and he's gonna have a meltdown, and we just have to be there to support him. So everything in parenting has just slowed way down to meet his needs, and plus going at newborn speed is just slow as well. So we're focusing on that and kind of figuring out what's next. We've really just been taking things moment by moment for the last month that we've been in Tennessee. We love having family support, but we also need our own breathing room.
We're our own family unit. We need a space for that. So
it's not just a bed to sleep in, it's also the emotional rest and recovery after so much trauma and shock that we've experienced. Birth itself is a big deal, but then having given birth and having 2 kids in the hospital and then taking a midnight flight when your baby's a month old.
Well, and
it's just crazy pants, and that's not even a word that really sustains the feeling. But we have to recover. The cluster cuts.
Can you talk about? I don't think we really mentioned this, that when he was in the hospital, about the dark night.
Yeah, so we each had.
I with Myron, you with Mateo.
Yeah, it wasn't the same night, but we each had a night where we looked at our little person in the hospital crib jail cell next to us, and I wasn't sure he was going to make it through the night. It's very hard to sit quietly in silence, and even harder to be at peace in silence. So when I get too quiet, I get sad and I start crying. You pray, you wait, and when we need to, we listen to music and call friends. I'm so grateful to be able to sit and be with him and just hold him, feed him while he gets better. But this is the most important work right now. Just being with him. To answer your question, I had a dark night, but you did as well.
I did too with Myron. And so where right now is like, we're out of the scary life and death season of like both of our kids.
They're gonna survive and they're gonna survive. Grow up.
So now we have a long road ahead of us of like whatever the future holds and like us figuring that out. And so we felt like it was time to say something about it. Of like, hey guys, for those people who have been following along, because we have run into some people in Colombia that are like, oh my gosh, you're here. Wait, I just watched Rachel's birth story. Like, why are you in Tennessee? And it's like, it's a long story. So
it's a long story.
Here's part of it. This is still the summarized version. Thank you for, many of you have sent messages. Many of you probably didn't know this was happening, or you did. But lots of people have been very kind to check in on us, to pray for us, pray for our children, send us love, and we're grateful for that. Thank you.
We needed help and our friends were there for us. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and we still have a long road ahead in terms of just like working through the emotional trauma and the financial trauma of this crisis. So we're working through that. But
so we'll let you know what's next when we know what's next.
Yeah.
Until then, we're gonna have a lot of fun and
there's a bee like right in the camera.
I know, there's a bee right there.
Right in the camera. So hopefully it's a great shot.
So until we figure out what's next, we're going to continue playing and
be a goldfish.
Be a goldfish and watch Ted Lasso and do school, do work, take care of ourselves, right?
Yeah.
You hear the kids?
I do. The kids are coming.
All right, gotta go.
Bye. That was your puppy song?
Ow.
I like it.